What's up, you guys? Lewin here at GarageBand and Beyond. Welcome back. Please don't forget, if you're a beginner and you're trying to build your very first home recording studio and you have no idea what to buy, click the link below for GarageBandandBeyond.com, where you can get my free itemized list for the home recording studio, everything you need to get started. So that's that. Anyway, so the reason I'm here today is to address an email that I get from lots of you guys, or a couple of emails that I get from you guys. And topics are too much hiss in your recordings, or I also hear this often. I get a lot of feedback through my headphones as I am recording. So what this all boils down to is proper signal strength. And when I say proper, I'm talking about this. Let's get right to it. So this is something I recorded. This is just an acoustic guitar going through my Aventone CK1. Nice and, accurate microphone. And this is what a good signal should look like, right? So nothing is peaking, nothing's hitting the clip point. And the signal's not too weak or anything. It's just, decent amount of headroom to work with and just a good looking signal, right? A bad looking signal either looks like this, which is really weak, where you have lots and lots of much too much headroom. And so here's one of the first sort of technical terms I'm going to talk about and give you guys today. So the peak point from the wave, right? So the highest point of the waveform to the clipping point of the channel. All this space in between here is what's called headroom, right? And in this case, this is a weak signal, so you have lots and lots of headroom, right? Here, let's look at a signal that's too strong, where you have no headroom, right? So this signal's clipping like crazy. If your signals look like this, I'm sure you, we've all seen it at some point in our careers, right? So this is a clipping signal. This is really weak, and this is right on, pretty much where you want it to be. So when you have too much headroom, right? Like in the case of a low recorded signal, and we're talking about recorded signals here. When you have too much headroom here, you'll find that in a mix, like you'll be like, oh, that's really a weak sound, so I need to start boosting that channel. So you'll use something like, whatever, a compressor or the AU peak limiter or something. But what ends up happening is that you bring up all that headroom as well, all that dead air space. And that's where all the noise is living, in the headroom, really. So which brings me to the next term that you guys should know, which is signal to noise ratio. You'll read it all the time on, when you're like looking up microphones and stuff, you'll see that phrase, signal to noise ratio. And in the recorded format, like this recorded signal here, you can see the ratio of noise or headroom to the actual signal is actually quite greater. So the noise is greater than the signal itself. Where here, which is what you want, the signal and the noise are pretty well balanced, but in reality, there's probably a little bit less noise than signal. And then here, there's just tons of signal, but no headroom. So, which creates a whole other problem. So when you're talking about headroom and signal to noise ratio, these things really, especially as you do a lot of tracks, they compound, and the hiss will build and build and build up. And for demonstration purposes, the best place for me to let you hear what I'm talking about is at the end, right? So as this signal to noise ratio is changing, you can hear a hiss come in, right? So what I've done here, so I'm just going to play the good signal for you. And I want you to just be listening at the end. You might have to be turning this up in these little sections. I'm going to try to edit the volume properly, but to hear what I'm talking about, you might have to turn it up and listen in headphones. So what you're going to be listening to is the end of the guitar track that I've recorded. And as that guitar sound tapers out or fades out, you will hear the signal noise come in somewhere. So on a good signal, like what I'm about to play, you'll hear it come in really late. So let's just listen to that. Right? So pretty, I think if you had headphones on, you should have heard it come in pretty late in that fade, almost close to the end. it comes in somewhere. Now let me show you what I've done here. So what I've done to this channel right here is actually, I have the compressor, but I also have the AU peak limiter on. The reason I put the AU peak limiter on here is because I wanted it to have the same audible volume as that channel that I just played for you, right? So if these two were being played at the same time, they would sound, they would have the same volume, even though the signal strength is different. That's because I boosted this with the AU peak limiter. So let's listen to this and listen for how fast and how loud the noise is at the end. Right? So that should have been pretty obvious. I'll do that one more time. So here's the weak signal with the AU peak limiter. Listen for how fast it's coming in, the noise. Okay. Here's the good signal, where the noise comes in slowly. And then the bottom one, and this is a whole other problem that you got here. So let's talk about this one. So this is one where the signal's too high. Okay, now on that signal, so you have all that, you have tons of signal, meaning that the microphone was turned up too high. And so that noise that you end up getting at the end is a different, yes, you're definitely getting headroom noise and stuff, but you're also capturing a lot of just the generic noise that's in your home, be it cars driving by or, someone in the kitchen or whatever. If you have that mic cranked up, it's really just going to be, too sensitive, and it's going to be picking up every little detail. So as the actual recorded signal goes away, that stuff starts being the noise that comes up behind it, right? So my advice to you guys is when you're finding or when you're recording, rather, what you want to do is, and maybe you have an artist that you're working with, this is how I do it. So you set them all up, microphones in place. You have them start playing at the volume they will be playing or singing at during the recording, right? Then you go over to your interface and you go to that volume knob. You start at 0, and you're going to watch the channel meter on whatever program you're using, right? We're using GarageBand. Just watch that channel meter there, and just keep turning up the interface volume control until you see it clipping, and then bring it back. Then go ahead and have them keep playing, and then record that signal and look at it, right? And then you can tell, am I getting peaks? Does it look good, or is it too weak, right? It should be pretty obvious, and that's why I'm giving you these visual references, too much, just right, and too little. So then, after you've had your artist or yourself just record at the volume that they're going to be playing, you make sure that the signal's right or not, and then adjust it accordingly, right? So that's pretty much it. You have to stay aware of having a good amount of headroom, because that really does come into play later in the mixing stage. You really do want to have headroom, not too much, not too little, but you really do want it in the EQing process, in the compression process. Having headroom is really important, but not too much, right? So I think that about covers everything. It's going to be a balancing act. This is a gain structure balancing act, and it's really going to be up to you and the volume of the instruments and all the stuff that you're recording to come up with, your method or whatever. But I can't give you any presets, because everything's, all volumes are different all around the world. So no sort of easy go-to answer for that. But just be careful and look at the recorded waveforms, the recorded signal, and just make sure that nothing's peaking and nothing's too weak. All right, I'm done repeating myself for the afternoon. I hope that helps you guys. Good luck. Just remember, a good, proper signal equals good, proper tone. All right? Good luck, you guys. Later.